Hi everyone. What we want to do now is to take the same code that we had written last time, but we want to create a menu. For example, we have these menus. So we want to create a custom menu so that whenever a user wants to run the code, they don't have to go to the script editor and run it. To do this, we will simply add a menu. And remember, this on open is a special function and it runs when we open the sheet. So we have function on open, and all we have to do is to write constant UI is equal to spreadsheet app dot get UI, right? And then we say UI dot create menu, and let's call this our custom menu. And in this, we want to add an item, which would be add the row totals, and let's also write the function name, which would be add row totals. And then finally we say add to UI. Just a minute. So once we have done this, we can save it and run it. It says execution complete, and when we go back and let me refresh the page, so we don't seem to have the custom menu. Let me just see why that is happening. Let's go back to our script editor. Let's try that one more time. So we say add to UI, and let's select the function, run it. Okay, as you can see, we have the custom menu that is coming here. And just to show you how that works, so if I have the profit margin here, and I go to my custom menu and I click on add row totals, the script runs and we get the result. What if we have more names here? For example, we have Sanjay with 450 and 50. And we run it one more time. So add row totals. As you can see, it is dynamic since we have taken the last row. So let us continue with this example. And we also want to add a grand total. So the grand total would be, let's say, the average profit margin. So we want to find the average profit margin. So let's run a function called the grand total. And we will start by taking our active spreadsheet and the sheet name. And this time we want to get two things. So we will get the last row, which is like this. And smartly, we will also take the last column. And now we want to add our average row So we will say sheet 1 dot get range, and here we want to select the last row, and that would be +1, comma 1. What this means is that we are looking at the first column and the fifth row, since we want to add the average here. Dot set value, and in the first column we want to write total, and here we want to find the average of all of these values like this. So what we do here is to simply write the average profit margin, and we will also say last row +1, and then we want to have the average in the last column, so that would be the last column, which I haven't named properly, so there should be the last column. We don't need the +1 this time, and we have, just a moment, we have the last row +1, and we have the last column like this. And here we don't want to write a value, we want to write a formula. Now look carefully, the formula would be equal to the average of D2 colon D5. But keep in mind that while we can write D2 colon D, we do have to add the last row value here, since we don't know how many rows are going to be there. So this is how my final formula looks, everyone. We are writing equal to average D2 colon, and then we are taking the last row dynamically. So let us select the, let's save it, grand total, and let's also make sure that in the menu we are adding another item, which would be dot add item, and we are saying add average grand total, and the code that we are running here is called grand total, like this. So we are calling this function. So everything looks good. Let me run everything once. So the execution, it says the last row is not defined. Let's just check that. Okay, let's debug it, and let's see if there's any problem that is coming. Okay, so it says the parameters did not match the method string for menu dot add item. Let's quickly see what mistake we have made. So I have forgotten a quote here, and this should also be a single quote. Let's run it once again. Okay, so this works correctly, and I can see that I have the average grand total as well. If I run it, it says the last row is not defined. So there's some problem that is coming, and let's try to fix that. I think it must be this R that has to be in uppercase here as well. So let's run my grand total once again. Excellent, everything seems okay. And let me delete everything. Go to custom menu, and if we say add row totals, it shows us the row total, profit divided by sales. And if we say add the average grand total, it tells us the average profit margin and the average profit margin. So let's quickly go back and see what all we have done in this example. We first found out the profit margin, which was profit divided by sales. Then we added the row total, where we had to find the last row dynamically. Then we remove the header row. We have the profit margin array where we are pushing all the values and we are setting the values. Then we added a menu. In the menu, we added two items and then we found out the average grand total like this.